Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Bonkekook here, aka your Lonely Achievement God. Continuing our 1000G Achievement Guide / walkthrough coverage of Lawn Mowing Simulator, we are moving on to Amateur Challenge number 6. We need to cut an orchard. So we get to use a Z Master 7500D. This is a time limit challenge, but we shouldn't have too much of an issue. We don't have a lot of room for fines in this, though, so be cautious of that. There are a lot of trees to avoid. Orchards always have a lot of trees, so be cautious of that, and be careful on your first run around the orchard. So let's go ahead and get started and see if we can't get this done relatively quickly. We're gonna skip into first person mode here. We're gonna jump off of our trailer very awkwardly, and we need to get down to 7 centimeters, so let's go ahead and do that. We're just gonna drive right up against the fence here, because that's kind of all we can do. We're not going to get penalized too much, so don't worry about it. Just drive right up against it. Get out into your overhead view in this corner and back up into the corner to take care of that. And again, just ride up against the corner of the fence as best you can, and don't overload your engine like I did. Once again, just back up into the corner. We're just gonna ride up along this fence as much as we can. Back up into the corner again. Now we're gonna drive forward. Try to avoid the brick wall as much as possible. It's a little less forgiving. You can't just drive right up against it because of those protrusions. And there we go. We've basically gotten the outline done, which is good because trees are also going to be a bit of a problem, but we've gotten most of the very difficult edging done. Now the biggest thing you need to worry about is overloading your engine. As always with all of these challenges, in the bottom left hand corner we have an indication where we have a penalty and fine bar that will, if it gets down to 0, we automatically fail. We automatically fail the mission, and in the engine condition bar we have a red little bar there, and if we accidentally damage our engine from overloading it too much, we fail the mission automatically also. Again, it takes a little bit of getting used to function with each mower, so once, take your time and get used to how it turns and operates, and once you're ready, then you can start going full bore on everything. It's probably going to take you a lap or two to get used to the mower. This is another one of those mowers that turns on a dime that I love. With the edging done, the rest of this should go rather smoothly, as long as we can avoid the trees. make sure you're keeping your speed up, and just kind of tapping the accelerator is the best way to get through this orchard, because you need to keep your speed up so that you don't overload, or because you are facing a time limit, but you also need to make sure you aren't overloading your engine too much. So try to tap the accelerator to keep your speed up rather than constantly having it pressed all the way down. And as you've noticed me do a couple of times, if you're overloading your engine, just slow down and keep driving, and you can get that portion on your next run through. Backing up and checking for what grass you've missed starts to become more of a hindrance toward completing your challenges. And again, we're going to be getting to the point where you have to avoid the trees. Be very careful with the trees, because you only have about half of your fines or penalties left. If you've been following along with me anyways, maybe you've been driving better than I have, and more power to you. Now we're going to want to turn around the trees to the left. You'll notice that's where our discharge, that left corner there, if you look down into the left, that's where part of our blades are. So we need to keep turning around to the left so we can edge around the trees. Get up against them properly so that we don't, leave any little bits and pieces behind. Except for this one, we can just drive up and to the right and around it. Again, the trees are kind of the most frustrating part of this. And the orchards, any orchard in general, because of the fact that they slow down your progress so much. Just trying to go around them. We are making decent time, though, even with all the trees we've had to avoid. We're halfway through the cut, but we're not halfway through our time limit, so that is good. Get that tree on the way back next time. The trees are the big problem on this level. And getting the edges, because the fencing is not very forgiving. So, this is probably the most complex challenge we've had so far. So don't feel bad if this is where you wind up having to restart for the first time. I remember this one being a bit more of a challenge for me when I was first going through than any of the other ones had been so far. So. learning how to get around the trees is really the big thing you want to try to figure out from this level. And it's going to be different for every machine, so don't worry about it too much with this mower specifically. But learning how to cut around the trees without hitting them or getting stuck on them like I did there is going to be very important to some of the later levels. So learning how to do it more delicately is not a bad idea at this point. We're in pretty good shape for time, so don't worry too much about your time. Feel free to take time to slow down and take the trees a little more safely than I was doing here. Getting impatient can be the reason you fail. As you can see down there, we are running out of forgiveness for our penalties and fines. Luckily, I think we only have this tree left, so we'll be okay. But yeah, driving around too quickly around the trees and with the damage you're going to take trying to do the fencing edges in this, it's very easy to get your penalties too high. And there we are. All done. We can head back. It is worth noting that if you turn off the blades, you go significantly slower in this vehicle. So, and there you go. Amateur challenge number 6 completed. If you aren't too careful, those penalties can add up and be your downfall, but just be cautious around the trees and you will be okay. So if you have any questions or comments for me, as always, let me know down below. But if not, I will see you in amateur challenge number 7.